Hi, hello, and welcome back to Bioenergetics. My name is Devaraj. Running groups, working as a therapist, seeing clients and stuff like that, there's one issue which seems to come up over and over and over again, and that is like an underlying feeling of guilt which people have. In fact, I get so many questions about it and so many people talking about it to me. It's like I've come to regard it as kind of ubiquitous almost. Because, traditionally in therapy or psychoanalysis, you investigate the individual client and you look at their childhood and what happened and how they, created narratives about what happened later in life and how they subsequently changed their behavior, how they feel about themselves, how they move out into the world, all of this stuff. But with guilt, what it seems to be is like, it's just ubiquitous in the West. For Westerners just basically feel guilty right now. And I was kind of having this idea a little bit in the back of my mind. And I came across a book which was published a few months ago, I think in autumn 2020, I could be wrong, written by a guy called Joseph Heinrich, who I think is a Harvard professor of anthropology. And it's a great book. It's called The Weirdest People in the World. And weird has a specific connotation here. He takes each letter of the word weird and assigns value to it. White, educated, industrialized, rich, democratic. So this is what he's calling weird people, essentially Westerners, modern day Westerners, because and we constitute about 10% of the world population. And what he goes on to explain is that we are the first people, as far as anyone knows, who are so kind of egocentric, not necessarily in a negative way, but when you ask a Westerner, someone from Northern Europe, North America, who are you? We talk about ourselves. We say, I'm a therapist and I do this and da 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 da. And if you talk to someone from pretty much anywhere else in the world, a lot of what they will say is to do with their relationships with other people. They'll say, well, I'm the son of Fred and, Barry's my brother and da 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 da, and the whole way that we conceive of self and the whole way we look at ourselves as Westerners is straight down this central kind of channel of the ego. And there's nothing wrong with this, but what I suspect is happening and what Joseph also hypothesizes in this book is that essentially this transition that we have made from being very, very tribal, very, very family-centric to being much more individually focused has left us with a lot of residual guilt because we are no longer so concerned with other members of our family or tribal group if we have one. We're much more looking at who we are. And so this background sense of guilt has developed. So if this is true, then the implications are, considerable for therapy. When you look at guilt, it may not be that you have got anything to really be particularly guilty about. It is simply that this guilt is sitting inside of you because of the way that we have been brought up in our culture. And all that maybe really needs to happen is to practice more vigilance with it, to start to become aware, where am I held back in life by a sense of residual guilt? So let's look at a couple of things you can do to assuage this feeling of guilt if you have a lot of background residual guilt in your system. One thing is to create a healthy relationship with your family or other kind of tribal group of friends or whoever you're in. Invest a little bit of time in that and see if it lowers this sense of guilt that you experience. The second and really most important thing to do is to practice inner vigilance around it. Look for areas of your life where this sense of guilt is holding you back. As though it's like a heavy leaden weight inside your being and you don't dare move forward because you feel a little bit guilty, because that is what guilt tends to do. It holds us back. You may find, for example, that you're not really going for the job you want or the partner you want or the friendship group you want because you feel a little bit guilty inside and you have to look, hey, is that what I want to do? So you don't get controlled by this sense of guilt. If what Joseph Heinrich is saying is true, then this guilt that you're experiencing really is kind of unavoidable in a certain way. And so all you have to do is learn to live with it and move around it and not let it hold you back so much. Okay, that's about all I wanted to say today. Do feel free to check out my work at bioenergetics.org.uk. I've got a book on bioenergetics there and a 52-week online journey. Also, of course, feel free to check out Joseph Heinrich's book, The Weirdest People in the World. I have to say I find it a little bit like a typical American psychological book in that the first chapter has an immense amount of great wisdom and a really good insight, and then they kind of pad it out for another 19 chapters or so just so they can charge you $10, $15 for it. I can almost hear the editor in the background, come on, a few more case histories or a few more alternate perspectives and stuff like that. But it is an excellent book and I do recommend it, and thank you very much for tuning in. I will see you again soon.